What's up, guys? This is Hatsme, and I'm coming to you with a brand new video today. And today I wanted to talk about possible cards that could be put on and taken off of the ban list. I'm not going to be uploading a Why I Love This card today, just because I don't really know what to talk about, so we're doing this instead. And yeah, let's get into it. First off, the cards that I think that should be banned are Life Equalizer and Royal Magical Library. I think I think a lot of people are really in agreement with me, because these two, like, yes, you could argue that the Monarch FTK deck isn't doing as much damage as a lot of people think it is, but Life Equalizer is just it can spur on a lot of just OTKing, and it's very, very easy to really manipulate this card, and I just really don't like it. It's a pain to deal with a lot of the time. There are very few decks that have an answer to this card, because it doesn't deal damage, it just makes their life points 3,000. So that's really the problem with the card. The next card, like Royal Magical Library as well, it's used in a lot of OTK decks. I mean, it was used in Ignite OTKs before Lavable Chain got banned, and Royal Magical Library it's just stupid. The fact that it can give you more draws off of spell cards, which you can usually activate more than one of them multiple times per turn, is ridiculous. And Royal Magical Library, again, it's used in the Monarch FTK, so I really don't appreciate that this card is actually in it. Next card is Reasoning. This was recently limited in the OCG, and it's not really doing a ton of damage over there. The only, really the decks that are using it at the moment are Infernoids and Cosmo. And Cosmo is one of the top 3 decks at the moment. Everyone knows it. And the fact that they're playing a Call the Haunted version of the deck now, where they utilize their graveyard way more, Reasoning has become a little bit more useful for them. It's also used in Infernoids, which were they weren't touched whatsoever by the last ban list. And while they're not really making a big mark on the meta at the moment, they're still pretty relevant and can still do quite a bit of damage. So Reasoning would probably hit two nails in the coffin, especially if it's co-money talking. They really don't have any more Infernoid cards that they really want to sell, so hitting Reasoning I don't feel like would be too hard of a decision for them, and I really think this card is going to go back to 1 again. Next this is really going to be one of these 3, or at least one of these 3, and that is, for the Monarch deck, Domain, Pantheism, and Stormforth. And the reason why and here's why I think at least one of these will be hit. Domain is ridiculous. It's a floodgate of a card, and you don't have to wait to activate. It's a spell card you can activate. It doesn't take anything away from your spell or trap card zones. There's a specific version of Monarchs called Domain Monarchs, where they basically try to get you locked out of your extra deck, unless you're playing Monarchs yourselves, in which case you don't need it. But Domain of the True Monarchs is just... It's a bothersome card. There are a lot of ways to get around it, and it's very easy to just get it off the field, because they usually don't really have protection against it, but they still have really big monsters regardless. So it's a pain to deal with, but I don't really think it's the biggest problem with Monarchs, at least in my opinion. I think Pantheism is really the problem with the deck, and the reason why it's doing so well. Basically, it's a +2. Sorta. So it's just basically you send a Monarch from your hand to the graveyard, and then you get to draw 2 cards, and then you can banish it from the graveyard and add a Monarch spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. And that's absolutely ridiculous. And plus, if you send the trap card, the Prime Monarch, or whatever the heck it is, you really aren't losing anything. You're actually gaining field advantage from that, because if you have another, whatever spell card you add to your hand through Pantheism, you can activate it. Typically, it's going to be the Tenacity of the Monarchs, just so you can search out any other spell that you need. And you can just banish Tenacity from the graveyard and then summon out the Prime Monarch, and then you have Tribute Fodder. So I feel like Pantheism is just, it's a single card engine for the deck, and that's really why the deck is really relevant at the moment, and it's because of Pantheism. Another card is the Monarch Stormforth, and I feel like this is a very unpopular personal opinion here. The Monarch Stormforth is just extremely annoying. It's along the lines, it's nowhere near as powerful as cards like Mind Control or Change of Heart or anything, but it's a watered down version of them, because typically you're going to be when those cards were first released, they were sealing monsters to use as tribute fodder. And the Monarch Stormforth is basically that. You just don't seal the monster. And it's non-targeting removal, which is really, really powerful right now. Plus, it's a quick play, which is stupid, because especially on Monarchs, because then you can really abuse Aether's effect to tribute summon it during your opponent's turn. If you don't know how Aether, it's the Heavenly Monarch. During your opponent's turn, you can tribute summon it, and then you get its effects, so you can send cards to the graveyard from your deck. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you have a Monarch Stormforth, your opponent summons something. So, for example, if you're playing against a Monarch deck and you have a Rafflesia out, or if you have an Ignister out, then your opponent activates this on their turn. They get to tribute on your turn, and they get to tribute whatever monster that you use. That you used a lot of, typically a decent amount of resources to get, and they don't really lose anything. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's just it's problematic. Draco Face-Off, I think, is another one that can go to 1. This card is absolutely broken. The fact that it can give you a free scale, and and puts a monster into your extra deck, or special summons it, up to you. It's just stupid. It's a 2-for-1 deal. It's just ridiculous, and I think it definitely needs to go to 1. E-Tele can go to 1 as well. It's a quick play version that doesn't waste your normal summon of Rhoda, and Rhoda's at 1. And you could definitely argue that E-Tele is way more powerful than it, especially because of Cosmos at the moment. But if you're playing in a Psychic deck, you're playing 3 E-Tele. That's just required, and because it's just so overtly powerful, and the fact that you can just summon straight from the deck is whatever you want, basically. Straight from the deck is way too overpowered. Wavering Eyes, I can see this going to 1 as well. It defeats the searching, which is if you destroy 4 cards, you can't get another search. That would end that. But the fact that it gets you a search nonetheless, the fact that it can get you up to 2 searches off of 1 card is pretty powerful, especially if it's in a mirror match where it's just like a Cold War between Wavering Eyes and you're waiting for someone to make the first move. And it's just, it really doesn't need to go to 1. Next is Skarm, and along with Skarm, I'm saying Dante. The Burning Abyss got brand new life from the Gold series, with Beatrice being released. If you haven't seen deck profiles of Burning Abyss, the deck has just shot way back up in popularity, and way back up in power as well. Burning Abyss are right back in it where they left off after the last Banlist. They're right back in it. They're competing very well against a lot of decks. I believe the only deck that they really struggle against is Cosmo at the moment, but they keep up with everything else. They, in fact, overpower a lot of things. So, Burning Abyss, if Konami wants them to stop being played, which I would assume so, because they just reprinted everything in Burning Abyss in Gold Series, pretty much, that you need to play the deck. Skarm would be the card to hit because it searches out everything, granted at the end phase, but it's still very necessary for the deck. And Dante, of course, because it's the main focal point of the deck. If Dante's still there, then the deck is still able to at least be tier 2 status. So it's just that if they want to kill the deck off, that's how they do it. Things that can go back to 1. Elemental Heroes, Stratos. Heroes are doing pretty much nothing at the moment. In fact, like, hero cards being played in decks that aren't hero decks. Specifically Masked Hero 2nd and Dark Wall. So Stratos can come back. It's not really doing anything in ARG format. They have Stratos at 1, and Heroes are still not making an impact. So I don't really see Heroes doing anything at the moment. Sangan can come back at 1 with or without an errata. It's just the fact that it got an errata is just stupid, because the card itself is slow. The fact that you have to summon it, and the fact that it has to be sent from the field to the graveyard, like, it doesn't matter, of course, like, it has to be destroyed or not. The fact that it has to be sent from the field to the graveyard is ridiculous. The only decks that would really use this card are synchro-based decks, or cards that can synchro summon, because then they can get a search. Xyz don't really use the card because it's just not as good for them. It's not really counting as being on the field. When it's under, as an Xyz material, it's just not on the field, it's just being sent to the graveyard. So Sangan, in my opinion, can come back to 1 or 2 for all I care, because Sangan is not going to make an impact on meta. Now, as you can see, I'm putting 2 Dragon Rulers here, and I will say this, one of these can come back. I don't think both of them can, and that's Tempest and Redox. And I feel like Burner is a little bit too powerful, and I feel like Tempest at the moment, not Tempest, whatever the heck, the water one. The fact that Mermails are still relevant, yeah, the water one can't come back. Absolutely not. Tempest, I feel like would be the more likely one to come back, in all honesty, because they're trying to sell the new Felgrand archetype, and the very popular version of the deck, at least online, is the Dragoonity version, the Dragoonity build. And Tempest would be a great addition to the deck, and I feel like it would make the deck sell even more. Tempest in itself is a very inexpensive card. Like, even when it was popular, it was relatively inexpensive because it was a rare in the pack, in the original release, and then it was released in a tin. And the tin would, of course, be more expensive because you have to drop 20 bucks in order to get a tin. But the rares were not hard to find whatsoever, and the deck was very, very easy to pick up. Same with Redox. You get to special summon a card from the graveyard, but there really aren't any relevant Earth decks at the moment. I know that there is an Earth deck that was revealed, but that's not coming out for a long time. They're like Triards or something like that. It's a rock-themed deck. So I really don't think Redox is going to do anything to the meta whatsoever. The fact that you really need an Earth or Dragon deck in order to really abuse it, it's not going to do anything. So, and plus the fact that we're having a Felgrand and a Blue Eyes deck become more popular in the near future, I don't really think that it would be better to have one of these come back. So one of these can come back, not both. Next card that can come back to one is Heavy Storm. A lot of decks are becoming more back row heavy at the moment, or at least using their spell and trap card zones. Pendulums are required to have spells on the field, basically, in order to function as pendulum scales. Monarchs use a lot of continuous spell cards or just field spell cards in general. It would be a good addition to fight things like Super Quantums that need their field spell in order to do well, or specifically Cosmo, who do rely on quite a bit of back row in order to do well now. So I think Heavy Storm can definitely be very useful. And to help balance that out, I feel like Solemn Judgment can go to 1 as well. This is a more skillful card. The fact that you have to pay half your life points in order to activate it, if you are very stupid about this, you are going to lose the match. And that's why cards like A Hero Lives are at 3, even though it's a non-quick, it's a normal spell version of E-Telly, but you have to pay half your life points, which is a huge risk, especially very, very early on. Unless you're going to lose off of that move alone, Solemn Judgment, is probably going to kill you. So I feel like Solemn Judgment can go to 1, in all honesty. One Solemn Strike, well, not one Solemn Strike. I feel like Solemn Strike should go to 2. Mainly because 3, not a ton of people are playing it at 3. More and more people are actually playing Solemn Scolding now that I've been seeing, at least in the competitive field. Solemn Strike is disruptible as well. It's very easy to get around it, especially if it's not the last thing to happen to chain. For example, Solemn Strike can't stop, well, it can, but if you're just looking at the special summon effect, Solemn Strike cannot stop Goblin Bird through the special summon. It can stop the monster effect initially, but if they let the effect go through and allow you to special summon, they can't stop the special summon because of Goblin Bird's secondary effect. Solemn Notice or Solemn Strike, whatever, I feel like can go to 2 though, because it is a little bit more powerful for a less life point cost than things like Solemn Notice. So not Solemn Notice, Solemn Warning or Solemn Scolding, Solemn Scolding is twice the amount of life points. Yes, it has more restrictions, but it's still a hefty cost, and I feel like Solemn Strike can go to 2, at least for now. I think that's pretty safe. Scout can come back to 2. I feel like Cleese aren't doing anything, and as long as Towers is banned, Cleese will continue to not do anything. So I feel like Cleese can have their Scout back, and that will be okay. Farm Girl can go to 2 as well. I don't really a lot of people. I don't think this would hurt a ton of people. A lot more people are playing Farm Girl at 3. I mean at 2 at the moment anyway. And plus it's a very, very powerful one card engine for the deck. I mean, if you open up at the moment with Cosmo, if you open up with a Farm Girl and an E-Telly and your opponent doesn't have an answer, you're going to win. That's just how it is. You're going to win if you open up with a Farm Girl and E-Telly and your opponent doesn't have an answer. That's just how it is. So yeah. And along with Burning Abyss going, with the main cards and Burning Abyss going to 1, I feel like Tour Guide can also come back to 2. Yes, like, it's a special summon straight from deck, but it's very easy to stop Tour Guide. You can Valor it, you can Breakthrough Skillet, you can Solemn Notice it, you can Solemn Judgment, or not Solemn, you can Solemn Warning it. There are just a lot of ways to stop Tour Guide from the Otherworld. Hell, you could even, like, Forbidden Chalice it, and it goes up to 1400 attack. Whoop-de-doo. Like, that's not gonna do anything. So there are a lot of outs to Tour Guide, and I feel like it going back to 2, at least for now, is like an okay proposition. I don't know. I'm not aware. Like, DDDs don't really use it. They can't use it because they don't play level 3 Fiend type monsters. So, and we know that the deck is going to be relevant at some point in the future. So, Tour Guide from the Underworld can go to 2 for all I care. Finally, cards that are in the main deck at least. Summoner Monk can come back to 3. People like their spell cards and they like activating as many spell cards as possible, and Summoner Monk isn't even seeing play at the moment at 2. So I don't see why it can't come back to 3, at least for now. Rescue Cat is still banned. It's going to stay banned. So the whole OTK with it isn't a problem. Plus Dark Strike Fighter got an errata, so I don't really see the problem with it. The only thing it could really do damage with is like rank 4 spam, but Pepe outpaces it, and if Pepe is still alive after this ban list, then it's gonna get outpaced. So Summoner Monk, as far as I'm concerned, can go to 3. If you disagree with me, please comment below and let me know why. Just because it's not a huge deal to me if the card comes back to 3. Ignister can go to 1. I don't think it deserves a ban because 1 would not be a huge problem. Hope Harbinger Dragon is a very, very powerful card at the moment. The fact that they can easily bring it out with Ignister as well is insane. Ignister is very powerful, and the fact that it's non-targeting, as well as like to just bounce a card. The fact that it can special summon a Draco Slayer from your deck as well, and for like Ignister Prominence doesn't need Luster to be summoned. Like, that's a big plus for Ignister. You don't need Luster to summon Ignister, and you can special summon any Draco Slayer from your deck, so that includes the other one, the royal one, or the vanilla Draco Slayer monster, so it doesn't even have to be Luster that can special summon. It's just free advantage. So, it's just... Ignister is very, very powerful. And so, it's insane. I've already discussed Dante. This should go to 1 just because it's just being a problem with BA, and as well as Phantom Knights as well. And then El Shaddoll Construct can come back to 1. Shaddolls are not doing anything right now. They're not alive whatsoever. They're not doing a single thing. If you're really concerned about this card coming back, hell, put like Falco to 1 and just be done with it, because Construct is not dangerous whatsoever, especially in this format. It does nothing. It does absolutely nothing against Monarchs because they don't special summon nearly as much as any. Like, they don't really special summon. Like Aether's effect, they special summon, but whatever. And then Construct can't do anything against Cosmo, specifically Dark Destroyer. It can't like yes, it can attack into Dark Destroyer and destroy it, but then they get another monster. It doesn't do anything. They don't lose any field of damage. Yes, it could possibly do something to, like, pendulums, but if it attacks into a pendulum monster, it's whatever. So Construct can come back to 1 for all I care, and that's then and there. So thank you guys for listening to this ban list discussion for March. Personally, I don't think we're going to get one this month, and if we do, it's not going to be active until next month anyway. But if you guys have any other opinions, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, have a nice day.